Okay. This is a continuation for the Article 17, right to erasure or right to be forgotten. Okay. And here are some of the scenarios where this may come in place. So we have a situation whereby the personal data is no longer necessary for the purpose the organization originally collected it for. Okay. In this case, you can apply this right. Okay. Our the organization is relying on the individual's consent as a lawful basis for processing the data, but the data subject withdraws their consent. So this will apply. The organization is relying on legitimate interests as its justification for processing an individual's data, but the individual objects to this processing, and there is no overriding legitimate interest for the organization to continue with the processing. So an organization is processing data for direct marketing purposes, and you normally see this. You can directly opt out in most cases. Okay, but I think in most cases, even if you do, they still send you the marketing ads. I don't know why they do that. Anyway, an organization processed an individual's personal data unlawfully. Yeah, you have the right to request this. So when the controller must erase the personal data in order to compliance with the ruling, this applies as well. If the organization process a child's personal data to offer their information to societal services, a minor, you have to, this applies as well. Okay. However, an organization's right to process someone's data might override their right to be forgotten. Here are some of the reasons cited in the GDPR that overrules this right to erasure. Okay, the data is being used to exercise the right of freedom of expression and information. In this case, Article 17 will not be applied. Okay, cannot invoke that Article 17. And then data, or the second thing, the other scenario is data is being used to comply with a legal ruling or obligation. Okay, the legal ruling say the controller has to keep the data. You want the data to be removed. The legal ruling will override your Article 17 rights. Okay, and all data is being used to perform a task that is being carried out in public interest. And again, this is public interest. Okay, or an official authority, government body. Okay, the data is being processed for necessary public health as well. This overrides right to be forgotten. And data, and the other thing is data being processed is necessary to perform preventive or occupational medicine. Again, this is for the benefit of everyone. Okay. Um, okay, the data represents important information that serves the public interest, scientific research, historical research, or statistical purposes, and where erasure of the data would likely impair or halt progresses towards the achievement that was the goal of the processing. Okay, the data is being used for establishment of a legal defense or in exercise of other legal forms. All these are situations whereby an organization's right to process someone's data might override their data to be forgotten. Okay. Okay. So here's an example. I think this was in May. Facebook sent out a notification for the European users for the new Meta AI model. So for you to either opt out, okay, but I think most people didn't do it. But Facebook went ahead and basically do it. And why was that? So according to the lecturer, the Facebook, they used the claim of a legitimate interest, that train the AI was in Facebook's legitimate interest. So they bypassed the GDPR in that sense. Okay. So penalties. So GDPR, so regulation, and if data controllers do not follow these regulations, there could be fines. Okay. But the fines will be determined based on the infringement and the severity of the some of the following 10 criteria. Okay. Okay. So the assessment will be done in the gravity and the nature. Okay. How impactful was the breach or the damage or whatever that caused the breach of the GDPR rules. Okay. And what was the intention of the data controller? Okay. Was the intention really to harm the public, or it was it just carelessness, or was this something like you would say a 0 day vulnerability? Okay. um and mitigation, what are the mitigation efforts they have in place? Okay, what are the they've done? Okay, well, what are the precautionary measures? What is their history? Do they have a history of breaches as well? Okay, and how well do they cooperate with the local authorities, or the local regulations as well? And what category is the data that is in question? Okay, and then and notification, have they notified the right authorities? Have they taken the right steps? And certifications, what certifications do they have, and standards, and how aggravating and mitigate the mitigating factors? All of these needs to be considered when determining the GDPR penalties, okay, especially the fines. So for fines that are less severe, okay, less severe infringements, they could go up to 10 million euros or 2% of the firm's worldwide annual revenue, okay, from the preceding financial year, okay. Whichever amount is higher, that will be the, okay. For more serious ones, it could go up to 20 million or 20% of the firm's worldwide annual revenue, okay. So now, so these are some of the situations in Portugal, like I mentioned before. The CNDP, that is the local, it's a local regulation for data protection in Portugal. Okay, so it doesn't override the GDPR. It works together with the GDPR. Okay, basically GDPR is like a framework. So the local enforcers use the GDPR to add some of the local laws and enforce the the regulations. Okay, and so these are some examples of the penalties in Portugal. Yes. So in the top fines, this all doesn't interest us. So some numbers, okay? So in GDPR, it mentions that data breach, we mentioned this already, it has to be reported within 72 hours, okay? And companies have to respond to a GDPR request within 1 month maximum, okay? And also the age of consent is generally 16 years, but members can choose as long as it is not older than 13 years. So you can say the baseline is 13 years because in Portugal, the age of consent here is 13, okay? But it cannot go below that, okay? So this is some quiz, and that was done in the class. And the next thing is the checklist, data controller checklist, okay? So we will do another recording for that.